Picture an interrogation room, and I'll bet you it has a metal chair, a flickering light, and maybe that iconic one-way mirror. Now, movies make them loud, like confessions explode under pressure. But in real life, it's quiet. Too quiet. It's psychological chess, not boxing. The best interrogators aren't yellers, they're listeners, observers, masters of calm control. They don't make the truth come out, they let it come out on its own. I'm Mike with List 25, and these are 25 interrogation tactics used by law enforcement. But before we begin, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content. Really helps the channel. Thank you guys so much. With that out of the way, let's go interrogate people? No, sounded better in my head. Let's go. 25. Miranda warnings. Every legitimate interrogation starts with a ritual. The Miranda warning. You've heard it. You have the right to remain silent. It's not a formality, it's legal armor. If this isn't said, any confession can be tossed out. Smart interrogators take their time, making sure the suspect understands every word. It sets the tone. You have to want to do it, not be forced to do it. Being honest about rights can ironically increase trust, and individuals are far more likely to talk when they feel respected. The Miranda step makes the power dynamic equal, providing the suspect an option. It's law, psychology, and respect rolled into one. A good detective knows this first move isn't about intimidation, it's about groundwork. When someone feels protected by rights, they're more likely to open up. The Miranda rights warning doesn't silence suspects, it opens the door to conversation, on fair terms, where truth has a space to breathe. 24. Voluntariness. If the Miranda rights represent the law, then voluntariness is its spirit. Everything said during an interrogation must be voluntary and free of threats, promises, or manipulation. That invisible boundary divides legal persuasion and coercion. An experienced detective recognizes the signs: tiredness, bewilderment, and emotional breakdowns. If they go too far, everything collapses in court. So they balance: steady voice, patient tone, empathy without pressure. Voluntariness protects both sides. It ensures that when someone talks, it's real, not forced. Detectives who understand this focus on atmosphere, lighting, pacing, even posture to keep control without crossing lines. It's not about forcing compliance. It's about creating conditions where truth feels safe to emerge. The strongest statements are not dragged out, rather they're simply offered. A confession made voluntarily is more powerful than one made out of fear. 23. Recording everything. Gone are the days of scrawled notes and hazy memories. Today, cameras cover the entire process. Each blink, pause, and sigh is recorded. Recording benefits everyone. It shields officers from complaints and suspects from mistreatment. Transparency fosters trust, not only in the room, but also in court. The camera never lies. At first, officers resisted, fearing it would kill the flow, but soon they realized it's their best ally. When suspects know they're on record, they tend to stay honest, or try too hard to seem cooperative, both revealing in their own ways. Recordings turn vague memories into concrete evidence. It's professionalism, accountability, and psychology intertwined. The footage doesn't just catch confessions, it catches authenticity. In a room built on perception, the camera becomes the only witness who never forgets a single thing. 22. The right to counsel. One phrase can stop everything. I want a lawyer. The right to counsel is sacred. No gray area, no debate. When invoked, questioning ends immediately. But what happens before that moment is important. Smart investigators engage in early conversation to build rapport, gain context, and demonstrate respect. They don't push, they build trust. When a lawyer joins, the tactic shifts. The tone becomes professional, disciplined, and factual. Detectives who adapt thrive. They view the attorney as a collaborator rather than an obstruction. The balance of law and discussion keeps things clean. The best interrogators understand that it's not about outwitting lawyers, it's about upholding integrity while seeking the truth. When everyone follows the rules, justice is on solid ground. 21. The interpreter rule. Language is everything. A misconstrued remark can undermine a case. When people who are suspected of a crime don't speak English well, trained translators, not just any bilingual person, step in. Not only do they speak things, but they also express things with tone, emotion, and subtlety. An interpreter that is effective at their job does more than just translate. They also help individuals trust each other. Detectives use them to communicate and to pick up on cultural signals like politeness, hesitancy, and discomfort. Because of this, interpreters are more than just people who are there. They're necessary. Smart interrogators slow down, confirm understanding, and respect the process. It's not just about words on record, it's about fairness. The right translation turns confusion into clarity, suspicion into dialogue. When every voice is truly heard, the truth no longer hides behind language barriers. It walks right through them. 20. Basic humanity. Here's the simplest but most powerful rule. Treat people like humans. Interrogation isn't torture. Denying food, water, or rest isn't strategy. It's sabotage. Federal standards demand humane treatment, and smart detectives follow them religiously. Offering coffee, a snack, or even a break lowers defenses naturally. A comfortable suspect is a talkative one. And this isn't manipulation. It's understanding psychology. People open up when they feel safe, not cornered. A sandwich can accomplish what hours of shouting can't. Officers who lead with empathy get results without crossing lines. The suspect starts to see the detective not as a threat, but as a person. That shift changes everything. The best interrogators know kindness isn't weakness, it's leverage. Respect makes truth possible. A warm gesture can cool down a tense room faster than any intimidation tactic ever could. 19. Documentation. Documentation is the unsung hero of every interrogation. Beyond recording, detectives jot down impressions, tone shifts, body language, hesitations. These notes matter later. Defense attorneys enjoy identifying gaps, so consistency becomes armor. Great investigators tackle paperwork in the same way that they would a story. Straightforward, factual, and engaging. Each timestamp, question, and answer tells a tale. Did the suspect hesitate when offered the evidence? A single detail could sway a jury. Accurate records ensure reliability. It's more than simple bureaucracy. It's a written representation of honesty. When written logs and recordings match, a case is unbreakable. A sloppy report can ruin months of work. So good detectives write like truth depends on it. Because it does. In a system built on truth, the pen is as powerful as any word spoken in the room. 18. The peace model. The peace model, planning, engage, account, closure, evaluation, rewrote the rulebook. Born in Britain, it replaced aggression with empathy. Forget yelling, think listening. The focus isn't confession, it's accuracy. Interrogators plan meticulously, engage calmly, and close respectfully. It's less about cornering someone and more about inviting the truth to step forward. The peace model spread fast from the UK to Canada and now into parts of the US. The results speak for themselves. Fewer false confessions, stronger cases, better public trust. It's quite the revolution that proved talking with people works better than talking at them. The irony? Well, the calmer the detective, the more revealing the conversation. The peace model turned interrogation into a conversation, proving that respect doesn't weaken justice, it strengthens it. 17. The cognitive interview. The cognitive interview dives deep into how memory actually works. Instead of grilling someone, detectives guide them to relive an event. They ask sensory questions. What did you hear, smell, feel? Sometimes they reverse timelines, starting from the end and working backward, which activates different neural pathways. The idea isn't to trap, it's to trigger genuine recall. This technique helps witnesses and suspects remember forgotten details naturally. It's all about cooperation, not confrontation. Psychologists developed it, but law enforcement mastered it. Truth isn't pulled out by force, it's uncovered piece by piece. The best detectives act more like therapists than interrogators. Patient, curious, calm. By respecting how memory functions, they transform the human mind into the best evidence tool available. It's science doing the heavy lifting, one careful question at a time. 16. Rapport building. Rapport is the heartbeat of every good interrogation. Without it, even the best strategy fails. Building rapport doesn't imply a phony friendship, but rather genuine curiosity. Detectives inquire about family, hobbies, and challenges. Anything authentic. It's not manipulation. It's a relationship. When people feel seen, they lower their guard. Suddenly it's not cop versus suspect, it's two humans talking. 15. Active listening. Active listening transforms silence into a tool more powerful than any inquiry. The most effective interrogators listen for meaning rather than just words. They detect pauses, tone shifts, and emotions hidden beneath statements. They don't rush to answer. Instead, they nod, mirror language, and wait. That patience creates space. And silence makes people fill it. Most suspects aren't used to being truly listened to. When they feel heard, defenses lower naturally. The magic of active listening is that it feels kind, but it's strategic. It's how detectives identify discrepancies or guilt using tiny indicators. The art is not in what's asked, but in what's noticed. In the silence, something happens. The suspect begins to reveal more than they intended. Listening, not talking, becomes the detective's greatest advantage in the entire room. 14. Open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are the simplest and most underestimated tools in any interrogation. Instead of, "Did you do it?" a detective might ask, "Walk me through what happened that night." One question opens a world of storytelling. Open questions shift the tone from accusation to collaboration. They make people feel less cornered and more in control, which is exactly when truth sneaks out. Detectives use these prompts to let suspects shape their own narrative. The more they talk, the easier it is to spot inconsistencies. It's a game of observation, not confrontation. Courts also love it. Open-ended questioning sounds natural, fair, and ethical. The trick is restraint, letting silence and curiosity do the heavy lifting. When the right question meets the right pause, usually honesty follows. It's not magic, it's just human psychology, used patiently and precisely. 13. Free recall. Free recall is like watching memory rebuild itself in real time. The detective simply says, "Tell me what happened," and then steps back. No interruptions, no corrections, just listening. The story that unfolds is rarely clean or chronological, and that's the beauty of it. Truthful memories come out messy, emotional, full of sensory details. Lies, on the other hand, sound rehearsed. Afterward, detectives revisit key moments, asking clarifying questions without steering the story. Free recall turns the interrogation into something closer to therapy than confrontation. It's non-threatening, but incredibly revealing. People often admit more when they feel no one's forcing them. It's also how investigators find tiny inconsistencies, little cracks where truth hides. Letting memory breathe works because honesty doesn't like pressure. It just needs time and space to rise to the surface naturally. 12. Strategic evidence disclosure. Evidence is ammunition, but timing decides the outcome. Skilled interrogators never show their hand too soon. They let suspects build a story first, detailed, confident, full of holes they don't see yet. Then slowly they expose one piece of info that undermines the story. Perhaps a security photo, a timestamp, or a text message. The moment falsehood collides with evidence is psychological gold. It's a confrontation without shouting. The suspect's reaction exposes everything: astonishment, terror, and recalibration. Done right, this tactic feels natural, not theatrical. It's legal, strategic, and incredibly effective. Some detectives call it controlled truth release. The trick isn't in the evidence itself. It's in the pause before it lands. In interrogation, patience is power. The longer you wait, the louder the truth sounds when it finally has nowhere left to hide. 11. Timeline reconstruction. Timeline reconstruction is like fixing a broken clock. Detectives discuss every detail with suspects, including where they went, who they saw, and what time it was. The idea is not to get them quickly, but to paint a full picture. People who lie have trouble with continuity, but real memory flows more easily. Detectives help suspects deal with their own problems by asking questions that are orderly and calm. Whiteboards, maps, and pictures are also helpful visual tools. As the story builds, contradictions emerge organically. It feels like working together to solve an issue. That's the trick. Make the suspect part of the right construction. They start correcting themselves, filling gaps, sometimes even confessing small truths to keep the story straight. It's not just about evidence. It's about rhythm, patience, and watching real-time cracks form in a false narrative until the whole story collapses. 10. Conversation management. Conversation management sounds benign, and that's the point. It's about leading the conversation without dominating it. Detectives set clear expectations from the start, including honesty, structure, and justice. They plan how things will go and then stick to it. The suspect feels respected rather than ambushed. Within that framework, interrogators lead softly, guiding the flow when it deviates too far. This creates order without intimidation. The tone stays calm but authoritative. The best investigators master micro-adjustments, a pause, a shift in phrasing, a reassuring nod. The suspect feels like they're leading, but really, the detective's hand is on the wheel the whole time. It's control disguised as conversation. It feels natural when it's done well, like the truth just comes out. Good interrogation isn't about cornering people, it's about creating space where honesty becomes the easiest option left. 9. Investigative interviewing framework. The investigative interviewing framework is the basis for modern ethical questioning. Being ready, being honest, and showing respect are the three things that make it work. The goal isn't to force people to confess, but to gather accurate information. Detectives design each phase: introduction, engagement, clarification, verification, and closure with intent. Each question serves a purpose, and each word is measured. It's about minimizing bias while increasing clarity. This system also protects the rights of suspects while improving the quality of investigations. It's professional empathy in action. The tone is conversational but firm, guiding without misleading. When people feel treated fairly, they tend to cooperate more fully. The framework flips the old school script. Justice through process, not pressure. It's less break them down and more build understanding. Interrogation becomes collaboration, and truth stops feeling like a confession. It starts feeling more like an agreement. That's real progression in modern policing. 8. The reed technique. The reed technique. The legend. The lightning rod. It was made in the 40s and taught generations of detectives how to use logic to find fraud and put pressure on people. The old style emphasized observation, confrontation, and controlled persuasion. Modern detectives have changed it so that the structure stays the same, but the antagonism goes away. The new approach combines Reed's analysis with empathy, transparency, and evidence-based timing. It's about interpreting body language rather than weaponizing it. The line between firmness and coercion is razor thin, and smart interrogators know it well. Reed remains valuable when used ethically. The method's core survives. Truth through strategy, not domination. 7. Theme development. Theme development turns psychology into storytelling. Detectives craft a moral narrative. It's not manipulation, it's framing. When suspects hear a version of their story that sounds less monstrous, they open up. They want to believe it themselves. This strategy humanizes misconduct without justifying it. The investigator becomes a mirror, mirroring the suspect's feelings and worries until confession feels like relief rather than punishment. That line is fine. No false promises, no lies, just empathy with a cause. Good interrogators know that guilt wants to be justified before it can be confessed. Give it a voice, and truth follows. In theme development, understanding someone's why is often more powerful than proving their what. 6. Minimization. Minimization is all about tone. The soft nudge instead of a hard push. Detectives downplay the severity of the act without lying. People make mistakes, they'll say, or anyone under stress might react that way. It's not about deception, it's about empathy. The goal is to lower defenses so honesty feels safe. A suspect who feels judged will dig in deeper. When he feels understood, starts to talk. The trick is balance. Compassion without promises. Done ethically, minimization builds bridges. It lets suspects rationalize guilt enough to admit it. It's persuasion through warmth, not fear. Critics misunderstand it as manipulation, but when handled right, it's human connection. The tone says, "You're not a monster." That sentence alone can break more barriers than an hour of threats ever could. That's the secret. Soft pressure and honest outcomes. 5. Maximization. If minimizing is a gentle touch, maximizing is a reality check. Detectives deliver the entire weight of the evidence, quietly, objectively, and powerfully. They don't threaten or exaggerate, they simply state the truth. The evidence is strong. We both know what that means. It's pressure through logic, not fear. The key is confidence, not aggression. Combined with empathy, it's remarkably effective. The suspect sees the mound of evidence and recognizes that resistance is futile. It's not about breaking them down, but rather helping them to acceptance. Skilled interrogators alternate between minimizing and maximizing. Understanding, followed by actuality. That rhythm disables defense mechanisms. It's a delicate line between being kind and being confrontational. Truth is seldom disclosed via shouting. Instead, it surfaces through understanding. When done right, maximizing is not being harsh, it's being clear. And clarity, in the end, is what cracks the silence wide open. 4. The alternative question. The alternative question is psychology with precision. It gives suspects two paths, both acknowledging guilt. One softer, one harsher. Did you lose your temper, or was it an accident? Either way, they admit involvement. It's not trickery, it's focus. The goal is to make confession feel like a reasonable choice. Detectives use a delicate tone, calm, almost compassionate. They provide understanding rather than judgment. This method works well when evidence already leads in one direction. It aids suspects in rationalizing the truth. The question must remain ethical, though. No lies, no bogus transactions. Structure is what makes it effective. It reduces possibilities while retaining agency. The suspect chooses, but both choices reveal the truth. It's subtle, clean, and deeply human. The best interrogators wield it like a scalpel, never reckless, always deliberate. After all, choice feels better than confession. 3. The power of silence. Silence is one of the most underestimated tools in interrogation. After a question, the detective simply waits. See? Those few seconds stretch like minutes for a nervous suspect. People hate silence. They'll fill it with words, explanations, and often mistakes. The detective watches every little movement, pause, or too much sharing conveys a tale. Silence shows the power dynamic. Calm authority versus anxious guilt. The key is timing. Too early, and it feels awkward. Too long, and it feels hostile. But when used perfectly, silence acts like a mirror. The suspect starts hearing their own story echo back at them. They clarify, contradict, and eventually reveal. The loudest truth in an interrogation room doesn't come from shouting, it comes from the quiet moments when the air gets heavy and words stumble out unplanned. 2. Motivational interviewing. Motivational interviewing is a therapy technique that works perfectly in the interrogation room. Instead of pushing suspects for answers, investigators want them to think about their own choices. They ask questions that sound more like counseling than questioning. What were you feeling then? Or how did things get to that point? The approach is patient, respectful, and surprisingly effective. People rarely change when cornered, but they do when they understand themselves. The detective's goal isn't to make accusations, rather, it's to assist the suspect in articulating what went wrong. Honesty goes up when empathy goes up. This strategy builds trust and lets people confess without being forced to. It's an interrogation that seems like a conversation, gentle, smart, and based on psychology. In the end, suspects tend to say more when they're trying to explain themselves than when they're being pressured. 1. The truth verification approach. The truth verification approach represents the pinnacle of modern questioning, the ideal combination of science, empathy, and precision. Detectives employ evidence not as a weapon, but as a roadmap. They introduce each truth gradually, observing emotional and verbal replies. This strategy combines observation, timing, and psychology to uncover genuineness. When suspects' remarks coincide with established facts and emotional cues, credibility automatically grows. When they don't, subtle probing begins. It's less gotcha and more guided honesty. Every action has information in it, such as tone, posture, and hesitation. The process seems clear and fair, making people want to work together instead of against each other. Respect, not fear, is what gets you the truth. By combining logic and empathy, this method demonstrates that the most powerful confession isn't one of dread, but of finally feeling comfortable enough to tell the truth. And that's all for today. But before you go, how about some trivia time? And no, not a question, just a bonus fact, if you will. Did you know the Reed technique was inspired by a polygraph exam? John E. Reed, a polygraph expert, developed his technique in 1947 after helping solve a murder case. Alright, now that's it for today. And if you like this video, then you need to watch this one where we covered some of the illegal devices that you should own. And as always, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, click that notification bell, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.